Okay, let's do this. Today, I'm talking about sex differences in language learning because none of you other cowards are willing to do it. I'm taking a big risk on today's video, not only because my viewership and YouTube viewership in general skews male, and I'm going to talk about things that make the menfolk squeamish, but also, as is becoming a theme on this channel, a clear presentation of the science as best as we understand it upsets a wide range of people. So buckle up. But I do get asked about this topic a lot, like a lot, and I think it's important, especially to add an evidence-based scientific view on how to supercharge female language learning. We'll talk about men and women, but nobody talks about women. So some weird stereotypes about language learning that YouTube has played part in, inadvertently promoting. For instance, that polyglots skew male. There's an entire book about how hyperpolyglots, people who speak like 12 languages or whatever, tend to be not just male, but are also more likely than the general population to be left-handed, autistic, and gender expansive, unconstrained, gay. But it may just be that those factors describe who was most likely to make a YouTube channel about polyglottery in 2012 or so. As an aside, doesn't polyglottery sound just kind of like a gross word? Like, polyglottery has been illegal in this state since the 1860s. Anyway, in part because of that stereotype, I've got a growing list of female YouTube polyglots who sometimes have a totally different style of doing things. And yes, I'm aware that a list of female polyglots is big binders full of women energy.
And they brought us whole binders full of women.
But it's all part of a bigger project looking at how different polyglots talk about their proclivities. So today I'm tackling what the science says about whether there are meaningful differences in male and female brains, learning styles, and abilities to pick up languages. And I'll give some tips for biohacking language learning. I'm going to do a full video on that more broadly later. If you're new to the channel, I'm Dr. Taylor Jones. I've got a PhD in linguistics from the University of Pennsylvania. And on the channel, I discuss everything related to language, linguistics, language learning, and culture. If you're into those topics, be sure to subscribe and ring the bell for notifications. This is Language Jones. You know that feeling when the air turns crisp, the leaves start to fall, and all you want to do is curl up with something warm and maybe a podcast? Now imagine that cozy moment, but you're also learning to say buongiorno or vorrei un cappuccino per favore with confidence. Well, fall is the perfect time to get cozy and start learning a new language. And that's the magic of today's sponsor, Babbel. Babbel isn't just an app, it's like having your own personal language coach guiding you through real, practical conversations you'll actually use. Whether you're dreaming of chatting with locals while traveling, connecting with family or friends, or even adding a new skill for work, Babbel helps you get there. Each course is crafted by over 650 real language experts, so you're not just memorizing phrases, you're learning how to speak naturally. And the best part, you can start having real conversations in as little as 3 weeks. Just imagine you, a blanket, a mug of tea, and your new language journey. And if you decide it's not quite the right fit, Babbel offers a 20-day money-back guarantee. No stress, no fuss. So, if you've been waiting for a sign to start learning that language you've always wanted, this is it. Click on my link to get up to 55% off during Babbel's Black Friday sale. Now, go light that candle, grab your coziest sweater, and let Babbel make fall your season of speaking something new. Okay, so let's get some things straight right off the bat. I'm not here for any of that battle of the sexes, one gender is better than another nonsense. My perspective is shaped by a respect for infinite diversity and infinite combinations, and recognizing differences does not require an implied or explicit hierarchical ordering. So, that out of the way, are more polyglots actually male? Well, it sure seems like the answer is actually no. Men, especially from developed Western countries with robust traditions of well-delineated national languages, with their own academies and governing bodies and pretentious people with titles like immortal who make up and attempt to enforce rules, those men seem to both view language learning as a leisure activity with social clout, and they seem to talk about it. The Kenyan mother who grew up speaking one language learned another when she got married to a man from a different ethnic group in a different town, speaks Swahili when she goes shopping in the market, and learned English and French in school. She's just not making viral YouTube videos about shocking the fish man at the market with her fluent Swahili. Some of how we talk about these things are just products of place, time, and perceived prestige of the language. So that East African mother speaking 5 languages in the market might not always be as lauded as the Oxbridge man who knows Latin, Greek, Sanskrit, and Arabic, like William Jones or whatever. Strip away the culture and it sure seems like everybody's doing a lot of stuff with language. But are there differences in the male and female brain when it comes to language learning? Here's a question. Are there real meaningful differences between male and female brains at all? Well, it turns out, unsurprisingly, that this is a source of tremendous controversy in neuroscience and psychology and biology and all those fields. There are camps that say there are uniquely male and female brains. There are camps that say there are really no meaningful differences. There are camps that say male and female are constructs and that there are meaningful differences that relate to gender, not sex. And there are camps that say that it's all constructed all the way down. And not only is gender a social construct, but so is sex. There's enough that I'm starting to get turned around. And they all go in the same podcast, so it's very confusing from week to week on Huberman or Diary of a CEO or whatever. There's also a burgeoning body of research on the impact of hormones and hormone cycles on our brains, and men and women in general, on the aggregate, have different profiles of hormones on different cycles. Honestly, without getting too far into all the controversy, it seems to me from the outside that there seems to be fairly robust evidence that human brains are all more or less the same, but are affected by their environments and by the chemical cocktails that they marinate in. So estrogen or testosterone affect the brain, but so do cortisol and adrenaline and all that other stuff. So what this means is that the vast majority of men and the vast majority of women are going to be running similar programs, but all the mods on the wetware are different. And yeah, feel free to leave me a comment, angry or otherwise, about how people assigned female at birth, but taking synthetic testosterone and a few other hormones to approximate normal male development don't have a monthly cycle, or how trans women do, or how I'm leaving out natural hormonal anomalies or whatever. For most of the population watching this without medical intervention, you're going to have a few primary biological cycles we can hack to accelerate language learning. Let's start with the men, who will almost undoubtedly be surprised to learn that they have a regular cycle. We actually have hormone cycles that are daily. Women watching this, insert joke in comments here. We also have yearly cycles with higher testosterone in the spring and summer, and some researchers have concluded men, brace yourselves, have a monthly cycle. Not everybody's convinced, and the main proponent of the claim once quipped that if women didn't bleed, the research establishment would likely be skeptical of their monthly cycles too. Why does this matter? Well, testosterone is associated with focus, with spatial memory, especially rotation, and with verbal learning. The last of these is especially pronounced in studies on women and older men, people who tend to have less testosterone. So it seems like a nominal range is the sweet spot, and Ronnie Coleman isn't going to see huge hyperpolyglot gains while lifting his light weights.
Lightweight, baby. Lightweight, baby.
Researching this, spatial memory really caught my attention. I see male polyglot after male polyglot expound the memorization benefits of the memory palace. Basically, where you imagine a spatial domain in your mind's eye and place mnemonics or words or whatever all around, like the dorkiest Easter egg hunt. And for men, the testosterone cycle is related to the circadian cycle, your body's sleep cycle. Testosterone peaks roughly 2 to 3 hours after waking, assuming you're regular. Am I gonna make uncomfortable period jokes about the men's cycles for the rest of the video? Yeah, probably. If you're touchy about it, maybe it's your time of day. So that window, approximately the time that Alexander Argeshes, the hyperpolyglot, has finished his morning coffee and is journaling in Arabic, deep YouTube cut,
Well, first thing I do, I wake up, I sit down, I write 2 pages of Arabic.
is basically an ideal time to study. And the evenings are an ideal time for more reflection, consolidation, and passive study, like listening to podcasts or reading with a pipe and a snifter of brandy or a shot of Slivovitz or whatever your thing is. But honestly, that daily division is a fun little factoid. The men, we're simple folk. The women are where it gets interesting. Now, for most adult women watching this will not be news, but for the men and boys who watch this channel, I hope you'll indulge a quick review. Men, honestly, if you like women at all, whether romantically or as friends, you could benefit from some knowledge here too. But I'm not here to tell you how to live your life. I'm here to tell you how to learn languages. So women have an approximately monthly cycle of hormones. Is it exactly 28 days, just like the moon? Well, no, neither is actually 28 days, so don't go tagging Neil deGrasse Tyson in. And women vary, but doctors and scientists use a 28-day model because it's about average. Now, the easiest way to figure out where to start the cycle is with bleeding. It's obvious. That lasts a few days. You can feel free to watch other videos about how eggs do stuff or how linings are shed or whatever, but that's not what we're here for. We're here for riding the waves of hormones to optimize learning. And there's a very real and predictable pattern to this, so much so that there's tons of YouTube videos on cycle syncing. In fact, part of the impetus for this video was that I was talking with somebody about how the male and female polyglots have totally different vibes on their channels. The men, maybe from all that testosterone, talk about dominating their languages and smashing their goals. And the women have like pastel cozy core content about journaling in their target language. I remembered watching something from a female polyglot talking about journaling and period tracking in her target language that I swear I didn't make up, but I also can't find. So, in a month, women have 4 phases and they supercharge different strengths for different kinds of language learning activities. And conversely, make other activities more difficult. If you just follow the same cookie-cutter, male-centered language learning plan, you'll see results, but it will be really hard half the time. Pause. And you don't actually take advantage of some of the ramp-ups your body gives you. First phase is the Crimson Tide. Leave me a comment with what that's called in your target language or your favorite euphemism for it. Bonus points if it's not crude. During menstruation, there's relatively low hormones across the spectrum, and it's this time that despite the discomfort, there's also the greatest ability to reflect and process information. This is a great time for all that extensive reading, listening to podcasts, and reviews of your language learning, whether reading your language journals if you're into that kind of thing, or whatever low-effort engagement with your target language you most enjoy. You're dealing with enough. After about day 5 or so, you're solidly in the follicular phase where estrogen is rising. This is associated with high creativity and low anxiety. Estrogen lowers anxiety and calms fear response. So this is an ideal time to do the kind of learning that benefits from lower anxiety. Interactive learning like language exchanges, studying with a tutor, and doing all that outgoing, creative, engaged use of your target language. Days 10 to 12, if we're scaling to a 28-day cycle, are associated with an increased ability to memorize. Days 14 to 15 or so is the peak, plus a peak in testosterone around ovulation. That's the peak of confidence, extroversion, romantic attraction. Yetzirah. In this time frame, LH supports verbal and communication parts of the brain. This is an ideal time to conquer your Anki deck and smash your vocabulary goals by dominating your learning. And then you get to the back end of the cycle when estrogen drops dramatically. Progesterone peaks, and you have a few days of what the scientists call reactivity. Boyfriends and husbands, it does not matter what the scientists call it. Don't call it reactivity. That's not going to go over well. That's anxiety, irritation. Everything feels hard. This is the time to back off and choose easier or slower tasks, organizing, reflecting. This is a time that an aggressive pace of new vocabulary and spaced repetition systems is going to feel brutal. Let me know if you've ever seen a language influencer talk about hacking your productivity around your biological cycles, by the way. I haven't seen it. I've seen productivity influencers and science influencers do it, but it seems like the biohacking has just not really made it into the language sphere. So what are the takeaways? Well, first, learning isn't one size fits all. A memory palace might be amazing, or it might be amazing for people with more testosterone bathing their brains. Trans men learning languages, check in the comments. Are memory palaces more engaging and useful after transition? For the average guy, your other optimization may be more important. Things like getting solid sleep and good nutrition. But in theory, you could benefit from chill, passive language study in the evenings and scheduling your focus for when your body is optimized for it in the mid-morning. For women, you can really play with optimization where it might be smart to really up vocabulary and grammatical learning in things that require focus for 2 weeks and review retention and passive use for the other. Back off the new words and maybe even ease up on your focused reviews. And the week where you feel amazing and social and outgoing, that's the perfect time for your italki, or however you have your creative, active, focused social use of your language. If you like what I'm doing with the channel, you can support it on YouTube with super thanks or over on Patreon at patreon.com/languagejones. Please leave a comment, they are great for the algorithm, and subscribe if you haven't already. Until next time, happy learning.